Shalom, shalom, back again. It's Ban Shemayim. I'm here. Thank y'all for tuning in. This next video is gonna be about um what is it? Jewish racism versus black anti-Semitism, right? Uh this is something that they talked about all the way back in 1969, and they have such great relevant points. If y'all like this video, let me know. Let me know if you want me to release some more of these, show more of this video off to you. I'll try to put the link in the description. Hopefully they don't copyright me. This video shouldn't be too long because it's a short clip. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's go.
Others identified these teachers as Jews.
Not as we do say in Los Angeles, we identify them where the Mexicans call them Anglos.
No, they were identified as Jews.
And presumably then, just ask a question, I'm serious now. Presumably then, if Hatchett and the other people who were mounting this attack, if they had said, you know, we got to get rid of these bloody hunkies, or these damn Ophes, or these whites, then the Jewish community would not have said, this is a Jewish question.
They should have said
Huh?
they've gotten
That's
rid of
right.
these
Yeah.
lousy teachers.
Just-
Why didn't they
That's
just
right.
say they're lousy teachers?
Give it to simply this, that in a school system that is controlled by
Free use. And I want to say this. Why is saying Jews a bad word? If you can walk around and say Jew all the time, that you're a Jew, I'm a Jew, I'm Jewish, I'm this, I'm that. When a person was to say, if you were like a lousy Jewish teacher, why would that be bad? It's hard for me to comprehend that because we're black. So like, first off, we're not black. You see, I'm like ruddy brown. I'm not black at all. But, or, you know, bronze, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not black at all. We're not black. But whatever we're labeled black people. If you're a Christian, you're a black Christian. You're part of the black Christian community. You're not noted as a white Christian, you're just a Christian. But when you're a black person, you're a black Christian. You remember, like Brother Nathaniel was talking about when Malcolm X was out, they called them black Muslims. Not Muslims, but black Muslims. In America, we're called black. We're not just called Americans. We're called black Americans, right? So, with that being said, every time they mention us, they separate us with black. And we don't even like to be called that. Y'all made that up and gave that to us as a term of, you know, of y'all constantly separating us from everything, right? Or not y'all, meaning the people watching, but the people, the powers that be, right? The evilness over the world. Oh, excuse my yawning. Oh, I'm so sorry for that, y'all. The powers that be over the world made that up. So, with that being said, what is the problem with them calling them, if you're a lousy teacher and you happen to be Jewish, what's wrong with them calling you a lousy Jew? Or not a lousy Jewish teacher, right? What's wrong with that when Jew isn't a derogatory term? It's not supposed to mean, it shouldn't be a derogatory term. But you see how anti-Semitism is. Anything that they want to consider derogatory is considered derogatory. Let's get it.
Jews, and it's a fact. In a school system in which you have an organization known as the Jewish Teachers Association.
The what?
The Jewish Teachers Association, 20,000 or more strong. Organization known as the Jewish...
Where the Mexicans call them Anglos.
No, they were identified as Jews.
And presumably then, just ask a question,
Free
I'm
use.
serious now. Presumably then,
Free
if Hatchett and the other people who were mounting this attack, if they had said, you know, we got to get rid of these bloody hunkies, or these damn Ophes, or these whites, then the Jewish community would not have said, this is a Jewish question.
They should have said
Huh?
they've gotten rid of these lousy teachers.
Just-
Why didn't they
That's
just
right.
say the lousy teachers?
It's simply this, that in a school system that is controlled by Jews, and it's a fact, in a school system in which you have an organization known as the Jewish Teachers Association.
The what?
The Jewish Teachers Association, 20,000 or more strong, which means that they don't mind, under certain circumstances, being identified
There's a
as
Protestant
Jews.
and Catholic Teachers Association, too.
Yes, but
Okay.
I'm focusing
All right.
on this in
There's
response
also
to his question,
Afro-American
an
teachers.
African American.
All right.
So we want
We
to
don't
be
deny that.
identified. This is my point, and I'm trying to answer Paul's question. We felt that, why not identify Jewish teachers as Jewish teachers?
This is a sickness of the Jewish
Why?
community.
All right, let me exercise for once a personal prerogative. The thing is that I didn't start this. It was already there. Now, I focused attention on a situation, hoping that some clarity would come out of it, and what happens? I'm labeled by his organization, among others, not his organization alone, but his 3 organizations, as writing an article that expresses, and heavens knows what this is, black Nazism. Now, I wasn't prepared for this kind of paranoia. And I think I've done damn well under the circumstances in terms of not responding to it in a violent, vicious kind of manner. But specifically to answer your question, I can't answer it because I really don't understand it. If Italians can openly admit that they control, by virtue of being Italians, the sanitation department, then why can't Jews admit, by virtue of their control of the school system, that as Jews they control it, not as whites?
Well, John,
Wait.
if you felt that by
are
identifying the
facts that have
Jewish
to be
teachers
answered.
as castrating education of the children and committing genocide on those children, if that was your idea of how to start a dialogue with the Jewish community and have some nice talk on how together, arm in arm, we can go black and white together into the future, that's crazy. And you should know better.
You know
don't-
why it's crazy?
Why?
Because you
Because it is
accept
what-
no, you accept the thesis that somehow criticism of Jews is, you can't do
This
this.
is some criticism.
The Jews are the people of the book, and we take words like genocide and castrate and other words very seriously. In the second place, I think you put your finger on it yourself. John, I don't believe you're anti-Semitic because I believe you and I like you as a person. But when you say that these children, he was taught not by a white but by a Jew, that reveals so much about you and about this bag, this hang-up that you are. And I got hang-ups and yours. I'll tell you why. Because that teacher didn't have Jew on his forehead. He was white. That teacher that you had was white, white, white. You couldn't tell. You said a few minutes ago, you
could
said
tell.
you couldn't tell he was a Jew.
Now, for the first time, and you say be honest, you talk about honesty. The first time I am angry. We have much more justification for fear of genocide than any other group on the face of God's earth. Because 200 million of my ancestors were either killed or destroyed in some other fashion during the slave trade, both by white Westerners and by Arabs. The preponderance of it was done in the white West. Those who survived, those who got to the ships, when they found out what was really happening to them, they killed themselves rather than submit to that kind of degradation. And you're going to tell me that words do destroy. Well, if words do destroy, then no black people should be in this country. No black people should be in this country if words alone destroy.
There are 2 things I'd like to say. One, that
Man, y'all, he was hitting it. And I wanted to point out, you saw how the Jewish said, well, how could you even know he was Jewish? He looks white, so if we're just white. So that always boggled me, because I'm not a Holocaust denier. I know what happened. I know, like Russia won the war. Beat Germany. For the most part, they beat Germany's army. I know what happened. I know that people died. I know it was a bad time. But sorry. Oh, I got caught yarning again. But how did they know y'all were Jews? Why didn't they just think y'all were other white people? You just said, how could he point y'all out as being Jews and we should just consider you white? If is that, I would like to know from Jewish people, is that how y'all feel today? Would y'all like to be just considered as white instead of even called Jews or Jewish? Is should we just say hatred, white hatred towards black people and things like that for our video titles instead of putting Jews in it? Let me know in the comments if that's how you feel, or how you feel, whatever you feel. All right, so we're gonna hit on Luke. This is what Christ was talking about. And we're going to start at Luke 17 because a lot of what the black guy was saying was talking about how he was hated. Excuse me again for my yarning. How he was hated and how there was discrimination against him, right? So, and how they had control and wouldn't even admit that they had control, in that they couldn't even say anything to these people or it was considered hatred. He said they called him a black Nazi, and which was preponderous to him, right? So uh, let's get to what Christ said. Luke 21:17, it says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. That's why we're hated, because of Christ. Remember, the Jewish people don't even believe in Christ, right? So we're hated because of Christ, because we are his. We are his people. We are of the same lineage. That's why we're hated, because of Christ. But there shall not a hair of your head perish. In patience possess ye your souls. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation is nigh. Right? So the armies were Rome, 70 AD. It says, then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein. Right? So this is a warning that when you see Rome come past you, flee through the mountains in Judea. And if you're already out of the country, don't come back in. And if you haven't made it to the mountains, oh, yeah, Satan got me yarning like a mug, man. I'm probably just tired. So it says, and let them not that are in the countries enter therein. Right? So, oh yeah. And them which are in the midst of it depart out. So if you in the midst of the city and you see them coming, get up out of Dodge. So that's what he was warning them, right? It says, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Because remember, Christ said he didn't come to make peace, but to separate, right? Okay, so let's keep going. It says, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. See, led away captive, not mean he would scatter us, we would just move. No, we would be led away captive, prisoners, into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So there's no reason to get upset and be mad and feel a certain way about anything that is going on with these people, about anything that they're doing. Once again, man, this is killing me. There's no reason to be mad, angry, or upset about anything, because this is prophesied and this is gonna happen until their end comes, and it's happening. Like they all beating the war drums to go down to the valley of Jehoshaphat where judgment's going to come, right? It says, man's hearts failing them for fear. It says, and there should be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, in the sea and the waves roaring, man's heart failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. So, our redemption is drawing close, y'all. Our redemption is drawing close. So don't let anything that's been going on, nothing that like the anti-Semitic bill, that a task force that Biden creating, don't get caught up in any of the snares or the traps. Know that redemption is on its way. It's coming. We're almost there. The war that, first off, we had the plagues. We had the plagues. The plague, COVID-19 is still going around. We have the plague is already here, and it's here to stay. The Bible says the plague will not stop coming. It will not cease, right? Now we're getting to the economic collapse. We had the stock market collapse in 2022. 2023 will be the country, the shock wave from the stock market collapse, because the country always operates behind the stock market. So by the time the country start falling and doing worse, the stock market gonna start going back up at that time. So we got that going on, and soon it's about to get worse, right? So it says the famine, and then the famine's coming that next, right? Then the money going, you can't buy food, that brings the famine. If they have to cut jobs in order to make the feds happy at the Federal Reserve. So they cut your jobs. And what happens is when you don't have a job, it's less people who have money to buy stuff, which makes the items of the things sit on the shelves longer, which creates the deflation, which makes the price go down, which makes it cheaper to buy. Things are going to get cheaper to buy, but people aren't going to be able to buy them because they won't have any money. Because what happens is, the cheaper the prices go down, the more they got to let people go. And then when they start rehiring new people in to slowly dwindle out people who making too much, they're going to hire these people in at lower rates, lower pay rates than they were paying them previously. So we're reaching that issue, the economic issue, and then the famine, and then the bombs, the war. So we are close to the country we living in to get judged for what it did to us. It's not for us to judge it. It's not for us to do anything to try to harm nobody. We don't got to do nothing. All we got to do is believe and keep the commandments and follow Christ. He was our example. Strive to be like our Savior, Christ, and that's all we have to do. And our redemption is nigh. Our redemption is nigh. And to the end of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So that's kind of what happened. We are in the time of the Gentiles, and their time is almost up. So with that note, I just want to say thank y'all for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment. If you want me to play more clips, so there's a lot of interesting clips. I think I was going to at least do one more clip from this video. But if you want me to do even more than that, if you like me to do, a bigger, wider section on it, let me know in the chat. And I'll definitely do a bigger, wider section so you guys can hear a lot of what they had to say. Because it was very interesting. And a lot of these same conversations we're having right now today, all this time later, while they've grown in position of authority in the world, and we've kind of haven't went anywhere we like. I mean, we've grown in position, but not like we don't really run or control anything. Like we might play sports, but we don't own the teams. We might sing and dance, but we don't own the music records. We don't own the record labels and the production studio. So for the most part, we're servants. We're servants of our enemies until our salvation comes. So on that note, thank y'all for tuning in. Brakatah, brakatah. All praises to the Most High and His Son. Call out higher by Shimon Shire, Robert Wakwadash, and Shalom, peaceful greetings. Y'all have a blessed one. On that note, I'm going to hit you with the peace. Peace out, y'all. Be blessed.